She chose a quote from Mahalia Jackson. "If I can just help somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain." Welcome, Dr. Simpkins.
Thank you, Anne. Gotta be close to the mic. My story is entitled A Bayou Legacy. It's about my dad, Charlie Carroll. My dad was born in 1916 in a small Louisiana bayou town of Maringouin. Its very name, Creole for mosquito, hints at the harshness of the time and the beauty of the bayou. In this harsh beauty, Daddy was born into a place defined by segregation. He was the first of 7 children born to Sam and Luella Carroll. Life was unforgiving. Daddy's childhood ended abruptly while in 4th grade when his daddy became ill. He had to leave school to help care for his younger siblings. My dad's days were filled with hard manual labor, working in the oil fields in Louisiana and Texas. But his spirit was unbroken. Though denied a formal education, he gained wisdom from life itself, learning the value of perseverance, selflessness, and the strength of family. And he was quite the storyteller. He loved telling stories about our community. He often told the story of Buster. Buster was a young black boy that lived with his mom, Eliza, at the end of West Oak Lane. Now, mind you, my dad grew up in a time when the rules of the Deep South dictated that black men, women, and children stepped aside on the streets when approaching white people. This is what I was taught as a child. We were to lower our eyes, never look directly at them. Well, one day Buster ran into his house and hid under the bed. His mom was very concerned. She didn't know what was going on. She said, "Well, what is it?" She asked over and over, "What is it, son? Why are you hiding?" He never answered her. Well, after a while, the sheriff and his posse came. "Miss Liza, is Buster in the house?" "Yeah, Sheriff, he in here." "Bring him on out here. I want to talk to him." "Okay, Sheriff, I'll bring him out." She goes back. "Come on, Buster, the sheriff just wants to talk to you." She dragged her son outside, and he was hollering, "No, Mama, please, Mama, I'm scared, Mama, don't do it, Mama!" The sheriff and his posse grabbed Buster and hung him from the big old oak tree in her front yard. As Miss Liza screamed and screamed, "Why, Lord, what have I done? What have I done, Lord? Please forgive me, son." As she clung to her son's lifeless body, swinging from that big old oak tree. "Why, Sheriff, why?" "Well," the sheriff said, "he looked at a white woman, didn't lower his eyes, looked her dead in the face. We can't have that kind of behavior in our town. You know that, Liza. And it's your fault. You didn't teach him how Negroes are supposed to behave. Now you leave his body hanging there here till I tell you to take it down. We want all your people to know how they're supposed to act in this town." Daddy said Miss Liza was never in her right mind since then. Now, Daddy also had a light side. One of his favorite stories was about old Miss Jones. Well, one day he went to her home to take some produce from our family garden. There she was, stirring a big pot on an old wood stove. She was leaning over the pot stirring. She said, "Charlie, want some of this here soup?" Daddy had noticed a slight dripping from her nose. He said politely now, "Well, Miss Jones, depends on how the drops fall." Daddy was a pillar of the Maringouin community. His reputation for integrity and kindness earned him the respect of all who knew him, black and white alike. Politicians would offer him money, trying to secure his vote, knowing that the others in the Negro community would follow his lead. People sought his advice and cherished his unwavering commitment to his family and neighbors. Now, Daddy's lessons helped me so much during tough times. My years living and going to medical school in Boston were very difficult. I had a scholarship which covers tuition, but there was barely enough money to cover living expenses, so I had to work. I had 2 jobs, but even with 2 jobs, my take-home pay was $100 a month. My rent was $75 a month, and I shared a 5-story walk-up with 2 other students. One job was drawing blood from Boston City Hospital's medical wards. It started at 5 a.m. before classes. After class, I worked in the medical school library from 6 until 11 p.m. After closing the library, I went up to the cadaver lab to finish my studying and my dissections. Now, I recall exactly when I knew I had the stuff it takes to become a successful doctor. It was around 2 o'clock one morning while I was studying my cadaver. Now, all the other students had finished studying and dissecting and had gone home to sleep and prepare for the next day. So I was alone with 25 bodies laid out on metal tables. The heads were detached and placed in metal basins next to the bodies. There was a white plastic sheet over each table. And I was just busy dissecting my cadaver when I heard a loud bang, clang, clang, clang. One of the heads had fallen off from the table along with this metal basin onto the hard tile floor. I panicked. I was 21 years old then. I was looking for an escape. I had to pass the table to get to the elevator and the stairs. I also knew I should pick the head up because the students would not be able to use it for dissection if it dried out. So I waited. I'm listening to see if there were any more noises. I noticed that none of the other bodies moved towards me. So I took a deep breath. I walked over, picked the head up, put it back into the basin and onto the table, covered it, and continued my work. I knew if this didn't frighten me away from a profession as a doctor, I had the stuff it took to succeed. So after studying for a couple hours, I caught the bus and rode to my apartment across town, hopefully to sleep or at least shower and change clothes for the next day's activities. So many times I was bone tired. I thought of my dad and what he went through at such an early age. Those memories renewed my energy and determination. Now, Daddy never wanted to fly. He used to say, if I was supposed to fly, I'd have wings. He'd turn around and point to his back. Do you see any wings back there? Even though he did not attend my graduation from medical school due to his fear of flying, I knew he was proud of me. He would walk around town saying, you know, my daughter's a doctor. That's all right. I called home regularly to tell him where I was and what I was doing. He told everyone he met, you know, now Ruby is working at a hospital in New York City. New York City! That's all right. And when I became assistant clinical professor of medicine at the State University of New York at Buffalo, it was, you know, Ruby's teaching other doctors. Teaching other doctors. That's all right. I was indeed fortunate to have a dad who stressed honesty, education, and hard work, who encouraged me to be the best at whatever career path I chose. And he was always there with love and support. This is the Bayou legacy he left for me and my siblings. Not money, nor property. He left even more valuable assets: perseverance, selflessness, and strength of family. And his stories live on. Another one he loved to tell. One he heard from his grandfather, who was born into slavery. His granddad and his buddy Old Joe were out in the sugarcane field. Old Joe had to poop. He was working hard, but he got as far as the side of the Massa's house. He just could not hold it any longer. He was just outside the kitchen door. He pooped. Well, what do you know? Just then, Massa comes out the kitchen door. Old Joe quickly put his hat over the poop. Massa said, Old Joe, what you got under your hat? Massa, I got the fastest animal in the world under this here hat. Massa said, well, let me see him, Old Joe. Okay, Massa, but you gotta look quick, cause he pretty fast. You ready, Massa? Yeah, I'm ready, Old Joe. All right, I'll count to 3. And then pick up my hat and you grab it. You gotta be quick. Go ahead, Old Joe, I'm ready. Old Joe counted. A 1, a 2, a 3. And he raised his hat. Massa grabbed a handful of poop. Old Joe said, I told you he was fast, Massa. He done shitted and gone. From the bayous of Louisiana, under the shadow of segregation, my daddy rose above the limitations placed upon him, leaving a lasting impression on everyone fortunate enough to know him. Thank you, Daddy. I love you, and that's all right.